to Offensive, the Bo Nix of podcasts, where you suffer through 3 quarters and then you're disappointed in the 4th.
But we come out with the dub. But
somehow we come out with a dub.
Don't know how. Don't deserve it.
I don't know how it works, but somehow it feels like we get the dub every time.
Every time.
We're at the halfway point now of the season officially. Slice it like a cake right in half. Boom. Where maybe we have some kind of grasp on like who's good and what's happening, and then we have trades happening. It's just like a smorgasbord. It's like a meat platter. It's like going to a tailgate and having so many delicious foods, and you're like, I don't know what to. I don't know if the food's going to be good or bad. You just don't like. Who knows what's going to happen? But it's going to be exciting, right? And we've got a whole playoff picture to talk about. We're going to bring up and talk about these playoffs. Neckbeard and Chief, are you guys excited for these playoffs coming up this year? Like, what's going to happen, man?
I mean, the thing about the NFL this year is like nobody knows who's really good, but it's maybe starting to, week its way out to where we kind of figure out like what the playoff picture is, and it kind of looks similar. But that's what we're going to talk about right now. Do we think this is anywhere close to what the playoffs are going to look like? So I'm going to start with Chief because he's been pounding Indianapolis all year. Mm-hmm. Do you think they're going to finish? Yeah, I said it that way. Do you think they're going to finish in the number 1 seed in AFC? Do you think it's going to happen?
I like the fact that their GM, he's always been slow playing it for the entire 20 years he's been their GM. And now he finally sees, we're at a spot. We got a chance. The AFC, it's weak. It's vulnerable. We got a shot right now. Not all the teams are as dominant. Let's throw out 2 first. Let's get Sauce Gardner, bring him in. So we have an airtight secondary. Their defensive line has been doing really good at getting pressures. I think they have a legit shot at going number 1. And I agree with Chris Ballard. I think that they do have a shot to maybe make it to be playing in February. I love the call.
I honestly would tell you that if they didn't, I'm not necessarily a guy who thinks that like in the NFL trading for a guy is going to change everything. Like even with Micah Parsons, right? Who's been very good for us, but I don't know if that elevated us to like Super Bowl contenders. I got to say with the Colts, they had one weakness and it was their second cornerback, right? Like every other part of their defense and every other part of their team seemed to be clicking or humming at least, except for that second corner. And they just took a weakness and made it a strength and got a top 3 cornerback. Like, I think that's absolutely worth 2 first-round picks, especially since Indianapolis has been kind of in this, like, trying to be good phase for, like, 5-6 years, it seems like, since Andrew Luck retired. They got a chance now. I like it. Have some balls. Go for it. Why not? I actually love the trade, and I think it actually gives them a legitimate chance to stay in that 1 seed, right? I mean, Buffalo could come for them at some point. Maybe Denver, because Denver's right there. But the way Denver's winning, they're got to lose at some point, right? And they got 2 games against Kansas City. You figure they'll probably split those at the very least.
I feel like Denver is this year's version of the Vikings, where like they win like almost every game, but no one really thinks they're actually going to like make it deep.
No one's scared. No one's scared of Denver in the playoffs because they're just not that great. But they're finding ways to win, which is impressive. Don't get me wrong. But, man, that game last night was awful. Okay, so I'll agree with Dave. I think Indianapolis finishes at the 1 seed. Hype, what do you think? Because Indy's playing an international game this week, which is always tough.
I feel, that tingliness you get, like, when you're not sure, like, maybe you're at, like, the craps table gambling or something. Like Jim Irsay, like, he was, like, a big-time gambler, like take a chance type guy. He hung out with Hunter S. Thompson all the time, like, just a fun, crazy guy. Now his daughter, the GM calls her up, and he's like, hey, what do you think about sending 2 firsts, for this cornerback, Sauce Gardner? And she's like, why haven't you done it already? Do it. She's like, basically like, let's go. And like that kind of like headstrong mentality of like, we're not used to that from owners. Usually people are very hesitant to make big moves. And so this is kind of a new thing a little bit right here, which is kind of awesome and fun. And I'm not sure that who knows if it's going to result in good in what you want. But as a non-Colts fan, this is super awesome. And I hope it just completely throws a monkey wrench in the AFC and the Colts end up like going to the AFC championship game. I think it'd be really cool. And I do think Sauce Gardner is really good, even though they said he took a step back in his second season in this season, that he's not quite as good as people think. But he's still rated the number 1 for separation at cornerback in the NFL as far as coverage, as like staying close to his guy. So Like even if he's not like the perfect best version of Sauce Gardner, he still might be the best cornerback in the league.
He's
Well,
up
yeah,
there.
yeah, he doesn't need to be perfect again because they're getting that pass rush, that defensive line. They're getting the push up there. And the story that I loved hearing is from a Jets podcaster out there, where he said that the Jets, they weren't looking to get rid of Sauce. That wasn't even on their
Right.
radar.
They didn't want to get
But
rid of
the
him.
Colts kept saying, they said, all right, how about a first? No, that's not enough. Okay, how about two? How about a first and a second? No, we can't do that. Okay, how about 2 firsts? What? Okay, how about 2 firsts? And we also give you our second round draft pick, wide receiver, which you guys need from just 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So they just kept hammering and hammering and hammering. They weren't going to take no for an answer. You don't hear about that kind of aggression. I absolutely love it. It's refreshing. It's not, that's just in, let's all the chips in, let's go.
Do you guys remember a guy named Brett Favre they traded a first-round draft pick for, and everyone's like, who the hell is Brett Favre?
Yep.
Like, why would you give a first-round draft pick to Brett Favre? Sometimes, I mean, it's obviously a different position, but sometimes you just got to pull the trigger and do it.
I thought we gave him a second for Brett Favre.
No, it was a first-rounder.
Was it a first rounder?
And that's why people were kind of like, "What the hell? Like, why would you do it for this guy?" But Brett was a second rounder. He was taken right at the end of the first round, beginning of the second.
Yeah, he was like the second or third pick of the second round, and then we traded the first round for him. Yep, that's what it was. Okay, so let's talk about the next team, the Patriots. So the Patriots right now have the edge over the Buffalo Bills, so they're in the number 2 spot. And let me just tell you guys the Patriots' upcoming schedule. Okay. So they've got the Buccaneers this week, which might be a little tough. They're in Tampa Bay. Then they got the Jets, the Bengals, the Giants. Then they play the Bills, who they already beat once, the Ravens, the Jets, and the Dolphins. So the Patriots really, to me, only have 3 hard games left on their schedule. The rest of those seem very winnable. And, you know, Buffalo obviously has to win that game, right? But I have this weird feeling that like the Patriots might actually end up winning that division, even if Buffalo beats them. So Buffalo has the Dolphins, the Buccaneers, the Texans, the Steelers, the Bengals, the Patriots, like I said, the Browns, then the Eagles, then the Jets. So not much harder, I would say, but a little bit harder than the Patriots schedule. So what do we think? Do we think Buffalo overtakes them by the end of the year and jumps into that 2 seed, or do we think New England stays steady at number 2 there?
I think New England stays in number 2, but I think Buffalo is really good and better than we actually give them credit for, because we've seen games where they haven't been good at this or that or whatever. But I think by the end of the season, Buffalo is just going to start winning games and start being good at it. And they are going to be they'll be considered a favorite and better than the Patriots, but they're not going to pass them in the rankings. So when it comes to the playoff systems, and who knows when they meet again, if they play in the playoffs, that it'll be a crazy awesome game. Like, the Patriots could beat them because they're just so like well put together right now. But like I have a hard time thinking that, you know, the Buffalo Bills are gonna get taken out of the playoffs by them.
I honestly think even with the Eagles on their schedule, Buffalo has a decent chance to win out because their defense is starting to play football now. Mm-hmm. They're the best rushing football. They're the best rushing offense in the league. When you can play defense and you can rush the ball, all you need is a decent quarterback to win games, and they got freaking Josh Allen. Right. So, like, I think Buffalo is going to go on a tear. If their defense continues to play this way, I think they're going to go on a tear, and I think they're actually more of a threat to Indianapolis at the 1 seed than the Patriots are, because I could see the Buffalo Bills winning, like maybe losing 1 game the rest of the year. I could definitely see that happening with Buffalo. I don't know if I can see the Patriots just losing 1 game and being able to keep ahead of the Buffalo Bills. That's kind of how I feel. So I
kind of think New England is like their like kryptonite though. Like Buffalo could look like the best team in the country, and New England could find a way to beat them just because it's an divisional game. And they're really tough.
That's possible. So I think that's going to be tight though. I think 1 game is going to separate them, but I'm going to take the Bills there. All right.
I think Maxwell Hairston is going to be the difference maker.
She's really
good. They finally have a man cornerback in Buffalo. They like to run all of the, zone coverage, which is where, the elite quarterbacks can pick you apart. But now that he's kind of healthy, it's added it's helped their defense quite a bit.
Yeah, he's made a big difference. And I like him too. I wanted the Packers to pick him up in the draft, actually.
We were yelling during the draft that we wanted them to take him so bad or trade up for him or whatever, one of the cornerbacks in that area. And now he just looks amazing.
He does. Would have been nice. All right, so let's go to the number 3 seed, Denver. I mean, they keep winning. Do they keep it up?
No, they're the Vikings of last year. Move on.
They keep it up. All right, and to finish off the AFC, because 6-7, I don't know if Jacksonville's going to keep it. Do we think the Chiefs end up taking over one of these seeds? Right?
Yeah.
Do we think the Chiefs do? So who falls out? Is it Pittsburgh and they get replaced by the Ravens? And let's say Pittsburgh gets replaced by the Ravens, okay? And then do we lose Jacksonville or the Chargers? Who do you think holds on?
Jacksonville has the tiebreaker with the Chiefs.
They do.
They beat them heads up. So I think that could be really interesting.
I honestly think the Chiefs are going to win more games than Jacksonville going forward. So that to me, it's like who loses the most games, the Chargers or Jacksonville? Because I feel like the Chiefs are going to sneak in there at like the 5th or 6th seed, right? So, and then, so let's say this is how I see it. So Indianapolis, Buffalo, right? Then the Denver, I think, wins the division. Okay. And then I think the Ravens win their division. So there's your top 4. Okay. Then you got New England. And then after that, I would say the Chiefs. So that's 6. And then the final seed would either be the Chargers or the Jags for me. And I think the Jags, and we'll get into this more later with the trades because the Chargers made a trade too, but I think the Jags did a good job addressing a need. And I think Jacksonville might sneak into the playoffs this year as a 7th seed. So I think they might stick onto that spot.
The Chiefs' schedule is kind of easy from here on out. And the Jaguars is too, but they play the Colts twice.
Right. But that's going to be the kicker.
But they also get the Titans twice and the Jets.
Right. So they still have an overall easy schedule.
I actually know the Cards, but by then Kyler's still going to be on IR. So they should lose that one.
And those divisional games, Jacksonville, Indianapolis, there's a chance. I mean, there's a good chance they go 1-1 in those games. So yeah, I could see it. But the Chiefs' schedule gets much easier now, at least for a little while. They still have to play the Broncos twice, right? Yeah. And they still have to play the Chargers again.
And they play the Colts too.
And they play the Colts. So it's not super easy, but it is the Chiefs. They're going to win some games. So
actually, that does make it harder than I think. So Jacksonville could end up having a better record.
I think Jacksonville's going to find a way to sneak in. I think it's going to happen.
New receiver.
I don't see a world where the Chiefs don't make the playoffs, but that would be pretty epic. Just saying, that would be pretty epic.
That would be really fun.
It's possible.
Yeah. All right, we talked a lot about the AFC. Let's go to the NFC. We got the Eagles who are playing the Packers this week, right? So let's talk about this. LA's at 5, San Francisco's at 6, and Seattle's at 3. So 3 teams from the West, pretty much all with the same record, right? Mm-hmm. I think those 3 teams are a lock to make the playoffs. Do you guys have any disagreements there? Rams, Seahawks, and 49ers are all a lock to make the playoffs?
Agreed.
Okay.
I think so. The only thing is that the 49ers could fall off. They just keep having injuries and backup quarterbacks. So that could happen, I think.
It's possible.
I also kind of think that San Francisco is kind of like, well, if we needed to, we could force guys back in and make them play. But right now we don't need to because our backups are doing good enough. We're coached good enough to where I think they're like, we're just going to wait until the month before the playoffs and then we're going to get dialed in.
They play the Colts and the Seahawks. Those are the only really tough teams they have left on.
Yeah, they don't have they have remember one of the easiest
4th place schedule. Yeah,
right now that's when the Colts were crappy too. But but it's not that hard. So I'm pretty confident those 3 teams are going to make it. Now we've got Detroit and Green Bay. I'm pretty confident those 2 will make it. Maybe Detroit wins the division and Green Bay drops down to 6 or 7. I could definitely see that. I think we're all pretty confident Tampa Bay is going to win their division, right? Yeah. So, and we all pretty confident that Philadelphia is going to win their division. So, like the NFC, does this actually seem like a very plausible playoff picture for the NFC? So. Because we're missing the Falcons, right? Obviously, we're missing. Hey, the Panthers. Don't hate on the Panthers, guys. Come on. Mm-hmm. We're missing the Bears, Dave. I mean, the Bears.
we said the first half would be great. We get one more cupcake, and then it starts to get hard, and then we get the Browns.
And does anybody think the Vikings have a shot after one game of JJ McCarthy not sucking? Anybody think the Vikings have a real shot?
He still hasn't thrown for 160 yards yet in 3 games. You, Justin
That's all
Jefferson
I'm saying.
owners. My condolences.
Their schedule's kind of easy-ish, but they do play the Packers twice.
The Vikings,
right.
And they play Seattle, the Commanders, Cowboys. I mean, Giants. Like their schedule's not terribly hard. It depends on how good the Green Bay Packers playing.
Yeah.
I guess.
Now, I know the Cowboys just got punked up by the Cardinals, but I think the Cardinals are highly underrated. If you look at the Cardinals, they've had a lead in every single team they've played against this year. So the Cardinals are not as easy as people think. And I think Dallas is going to give the Vikings problems because they can throw the ball deep. And we know the Vikings can't handle that.
That's true.
So, yeah. But I'd say my Carolina Panthers have a small outside chance to sneak in at the 7th seed. They're 5-4, guys. You know, this is not the Panthers team of last year. So there's a small outside chance. And they obviously have an easy schedule because A, they're in the South, and B, they were terrible. So
kind of, but they play the Rams, Buccaneers, Seahawks, and Buccaneers again.
Oh, they played the Buccaneers
and Niners.
How could the Panthers play the Buccaneers twice? What are you talking about?
Wait, sorry, they just played once. They played sorry, I was the 49ers.
Okay, I was like, wait, that does not sound like
no, but they have they have the Niners, the Rams, the Bucks, and the Seahawks left on the schedule. So it's not super easy.
They play the Bucks twice in the last 3 games.
Yeah, Falcons, Saints, Bucks twice. Now I think they're gonna take one of those games. And dude, 49ers. They could beat the 49ers. I don't think they can beat the Rams. I don't think they can beat the Seahawks. But again, they don't have to win every game. They'd have to win at least 4 games and get 9 wins. And then either Green Bay or Detroit needs to fall off, or potentially San Francisco, like if they fall off, right? Then it's possible for them to get in. But yeah, I don't see the Panthers getting more than 9 wins. And I think 9 wins might not be enough to make this NFC playoff. I think you might have to have 10 to get into the NFC playoffs. So they might finish 8th, and
there's going to be a lot of upsets still. This season's full of upsets.
There's going to be a lot of upsets. Dude, okay, so let's talk about that. Philadelphia is in a terrible division, right? They're going to run away with their division, but their schedule is not that easy. And I don't know if they're going to hold on to this 1 seed, guys. So here's the Eagles' remaining schedule, okay? So they're at Green Bay Monday, as we know. We'll talk about that later. Then they have the Lions. Then they have the Cowboys, which seems easy, but it's a division game. Then they have the Bears, which seems easy, but the Bears are playing well. Then they have the Chargers, which seems like they should beat them, but I feel like the Chargers might have a chance. They have the Raiders, no chance. Commanders, no chance. But then Bills and Commanders again. So I don't think this is an Eagles team that's going to end up 14-3. Right? No. I think this is an Eagles team that's going to lose at least 2 more of those games, maybe even 3 more of those games. I could see the Eagles losing with the whole AJ Brown situation, and they just don't feel as good as last year. And
their offensive line is not elite anymore. It's good, but it's not elite. And you see, if you can blitz them and take advantage of their offensive line, like they're very beatable.
No, dude, I have a sneaky, gross suspicion that the Seahawks or the Rams could get the 1 seed. I think whichever one of those teams, because the AFC West is going to kind of beat each other up, we all know. But I feel like one team is going to find its way ahead of the pack and finish like 13-4. And I feel like there might be 2 13-4 or 3 13-4 teams this year. I think that's possible. And so I think the Seahawks might sneak up in there, or the Rams. So
there are some people that think the Seahawks are the best team in the NFL right now.
I mean, they look pretty dang good, don't they?
Like thinking that they're going to become the 1 seed, basically, you know?
Yep. Well, I just want to remind everybody that Dave called the Colts being good, and I called the Seahawks being good, and Doug called the Raiders being good. So.
Look, they almost beat Bo Nix, the All-American Bo Nix last night, all right?
I'm sorry. I just
the refs kept throwing flags. The refs were just busy throwing flags, and they just like Geno, where you can't let him win.
I'm sorry. I just had to bring that up because I was like, dude, the Raiders. Okay.
The Vaughn Broncos defense, Geno Smith was like, I'll take them down.
I mean, the Raiders have been in games. They should have won the Bears game. They were actually doing pretty well in there's one other game they
should have actually kind of won the game, but Geno got hurt and everything, and backup came in, so whatever.
It is what it is. All right, so the NFC playoff picture, we're pretty confident that we're looking at the teams that are going to make it, but we're also pretty confident that these are nowhere close to how it's going to finish, and the standings are going to be completely different. So, okay, we can all agree with that. Go Seahawks, number 1 seed. Okay, adding to stage the games this week. Now, after saying all those nice things about the Seahawks, watch Arizona go in and trounce them or something, right? I mean, that's just the way the NFL is this week. But let's pick our favorite game of the weekend. So, Hype, I'm going to start with you since I gave you a hard time. What's your favorite game this weekend? Which one do you want to watch?
So I'm talking about the Steelers and Chargers. I want to find out if the Steelers are legit after their game against the Colts, where they overwhelmed the Colts offensive line and
They
beat
did.
them in the trenches. When I was just talking to my friend Sam, and I'm like, dude, I kind of root for them to do that sometimes because they have a lot of Badgers on that defense. They have like 3 starters from EW, right? And I'm like, yeah, I want those guys to do well. And their defense on paper looks really, really good, even though they're kind of old and a little bit slow. Like they should be at least a good defense, if not like a really good defense. And if they can like use this game to bounce back up to have confidence and play better and whatever it is, have their focus. And if they come in and trounce the Chargers and look like a really good team, then I'm going to have some faith in them that they might be a dangerous team down the line and end up winning the division and like being better than the Ravens, which could easily happen.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Do you guys think that that's gonna like the Steelers are gonna end up getting more confidence, or do you think it's downhill from here?
I think it's downhill, man. Sorry, I still don't believe in them.
You think the Jim Harbaugh is gonna come in and show them what's right?
The Steelers are not great at anything. And that's the problem. You have to be great at something.
They were kind of great at running the ball behind that 6-man offensive line. Like they pushed us around big time doing that, but it's hard to keep that up. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they could consistently do it.
I don't know. And even if the Steelers win this game, right? Even if the Steelers win this game, which is possible, I still think week to week, you're never going to know what you're going to get from that defense. I don't believe the defense turned it around. I mean, it was 5 turnovers. But in that game, you know, the Colts were still moving the ball. It was just bad turnovers, and it was like a Daniel Jones party, right?
But the thing is, like, when you analyze like the tape, the defensive line of the Steelers was doing pretty well against the offensive line of the Colts.
So, okay, guys, the Steelers had 225 total yards in this game, and the Colts had 370. And the Colts actually had 6 turnovers to the Steelers 1 turnover, and they lost by 7 points. 5 turnovers, and you lost by 7 points.
They still did cause turnovers and havoc in the backfield.
No, respect, but
they made Daniel Jones look kind of bad.
I know, but that doesn't happen every week. And again, Daniel Jones still put up decent yards against him, but made bad plays, or they, you know, and the Steelers made plays.
The Steelers are going to have to prove it. That was.
But what I'm saying is, the Steelers didn't beat the crap out of them, and they had 5 turnovers. Like, you cannot tell me the Steelers are a good team. Like, if the turnover ratio is 3-1 and you win by 7. I still have questions about how good you are. It was 6-1 and they won by 7. So I have a lot of questions.
That's totally true. But my whole point is that, like, if you have a defensive line like the Steelers with guys that are really talented, that can cause those issues and cause, like, you know, the Colts offensive line has been amazing all year. And all of a sudden you have guys breaking through the line and you don't kind of know what to do. And Daniel Jones turns into Giants Daniel Jones again, because, you know what I mean? So the Steelers do have the ability to do that, is my point.
It's true. And some it's week to week and it's just scheme or it's just whatever. But yeah, I think this will be a good indicator, though, because, you know, the Chargers offensive line is banged up. Like, they did just get Penning from the Saints. We'll talk about that a little bit. But I mean, if the Chargers take it to their defense and get 350 yards on them and don't turn over the ball, like, yeah, I think
the Steelers don't have to be amazing to win their division, right? Like, the Steelers just have to be pretty good.
No, I don't know. The Ravens might be good now. Like,
but we don't know it quite yet, right? We're not sure.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's transition that into my game I'm going to talk about, Doug, which is Ravens versus Vikings. Is JJ McCarthy going to do anything against this mediocre, quote unquote, Ravens defense that got some guys back but has actually started showing up? It's in Minnesota. Lamar's there. It's on turf. I mean, this is going to be a great indicator because JJ had his great 15 minutes in week 1 against the Bears, right? And then he was horrific for 3 games, basically, right? And then he comes in after this game and he has what is a decent game. He had 3 touchdowns. He made some good throws, but he still only had 145 yards passing. And I got to tell you, with this Ravens offense, I know the Vikings defense can get pressure and everything, but if there's one thing that negates pressure, it's a mobile quarterback, and Lamar's the most mobile quarterback in the NFL. So I think the Ravens are going to put up points, and I don't see any chance of JJ McCarthy keeping up with him. But this is one of those sneaky games where like the Ravens are desperate, and if they start making a mistake or two, and that Brian Flores defense causes a turnover early,
yes, which they do
things
often.
can just momentum can just start rolling. That's what happened in the Detroit game, guys, and they took it to Detroit and they held on. So like this Vikings team is one of those teams, even last year, when they get those early turnovers and they start getting momentum and Flores gets really aggressive on defense, this Viking team can find ways to beat teams that they maybe shouldn't have, and they're really good at that. So this might be a sneaky game that the Vikings steal from the Ravens, and if they do, it might be curtains for the Ravens.
They pretty much eliminated Gibbs out of the game. Like Gibbs did nothing against the Vikings. You know what I mean? And he's an amazing running back. And so like the Ravens are different, but I'm just saying they have the ability to do that.
This Vikings defense is excellent from the line of scrimmage to about 10 yards out. It's when you get past that 10-yard line where you can attack the Vikings, right? And again, Detroit, as good as they are, they can't attack downfield. They're more timing and tricks and just, boom, boom, boom plays. And they were all over Jared Goff in that game, all over him. But Jared Goff is a statue. Lamar Jackson is not. He is the opposite of that. So I'm not saying the Vikings can't get to him a couple times, but there's going to be a couple times where Lamar gets out and makes plays down the field. And sometimes that's all you need is a couple plays down the field. So I'm still picking the Ravens to win, but I think this could be a sneaky steal game for the Vikings if they end up getting 2 early turnovers and the Ravens get in their head and the Vikings do what they do best, right? So
a King Henry fumble in the first half will help.
Yep, something like that. The Ravens are up 3-0. Let's say they're driving, they fumble it on the 5-yard line. Minnesota picks it up, runs it back for a TD or runs it back 30, 40 yards. They get a touchdown, and they just kind of – Minnesota's really good at keeping that momentum, like once they get that big defensive play. So, yeah, Ravens got to watch out for that, but – I still don't think J.J. McCarthy's going to do a heck of anything in this game, but he might not have to, right? He might not have to. So
I think McCarthy's going to play not very good, but it's still going to be really close. Even if Lamar is playing great, like the Vikings defense, just their team has that thing where they just keep games close all the time.
And in Minnesota, in their own stadium, their defense is even better. So like, the Ravens definitely have a challenge here, but this to me is a really interesting game because if the Vikings win it, they might start feeling themselves, right? And they might start being a little bit of a problem. And if the Ravens win, they're obviously kind of keeping their trajectory of potentially taking over the Steelers. But yeah, I'm really curious to see which purple team comes out on top. I hope it's the one from Baltimore, but we shall see. All right, Dave, what's your favorite game of the weekend?
Greatest game of the week is going to be the 2-6 Browns at the 1-7 Jets.
Shut up.
Give me some of that action.
Do the Jets even have players on their team anymore? I thought they traded every player for a draft pick.
Nah, just messing with you.
Their name is now the New York Draft Picks.
Right? Hey, they have an exciting future. It's just, they just got to get over their present. My game of the week is going to be the battle of the MVPs. It's going to be the 7-2 Pats at the 6-2 Bucks. You had me singing the praises of, Baker for the entire first 6 weeks of the year. He was looking fantastic, lost his wide receivers. And the Pats have just been dominating. They've been surprising everyone. They're going to be without Ramondre Stevenson. I really like to see Travion Henderson. The Bucks are difficult to run against, but hopefully this will be the game where they finally say, oh, wait, Travion, you're good on the outside. So they try to run some, run them around the outside, bounce some plays outside, get them passes on the outside just to unlock that other element. Last week, Travion played 70% of the snaps, but he still had the same amount of carries as their backup running back. People like to say he didn't get any of the carries inside of the red zone. Well, they only had 1 carry inside of the 5. So it's not really, that they don't trust Travion. It happened to be the other guy's drive. And then for the Bucks, they're going to be without, Mike Evans, of course, gone for the season. Bucky Irving has already been ruled out. And it just kind of feel like the Bucks are like, we see our division. We know that we're going to get home field advantage, at least for the first round of the playoffs. It just feels like they're just playing to get to the playoffs right now. They're not really worried about the week to week because they're like, no, we got Baker. He can make stuff happen. And right now they are favored for that game being at home. I think that's going to be a whole lot of fun. I think Booty's already been ruled out for the Pats. So you got injuries on both sides. You have two dynamic quarterbacks. I think that's just going to be all sorts of fireworks. And I'm going to cheer for my favorite MVP, Baker. I think he'll pull it out versus a young guy. He'll just have one more out of his bag of tricks. What do you guys think?
Well, this is the Brady bunch, right, Bull? Because it's Tom Brady's former teams, and I dislike both of them. So I don't know who to cheer against, but I think I'll cheer against the Buccaneers just because they're in the NFC. So go Patriots. And I do think the Patriots will win this game just because they've been rolling, but it's at home. It is Bake Show. They could get it going, but I think the Patriots are kind of rolling right now. So I think they sneak this one out.
I think this could be the Drake May coming out party, because he's going up against Baker Mayfield, who we thought could be an MVP candidate, but their season's not going quite on schedule. And at this point right now, I think right now, halfway through the season, if Drake May keeps it up and proves he can come in and beat a Baker Mayfield, he's gonna really become walking into a superstar level quarterback kind of vibe. And we'll see, because the Buccaneers are really susceptible. They're losing to teams they shouldn't lose to, and they're not taking out teams. They're like an even worse version of how the Packers are looking at times, where they're just they don't look very good. Baker didn't
these guys actually know how to throw to their wide receivers, Dougie.
Yeah, but
they scheme them
wide
open.
Receivers are hurt a lot.
They know how to use their rookie first-round wide receivers. So
they do, but they don't know how to have 18 wide receivers so that when someone gets hurt, they can just have they have 17 left. You know what I mean? The Packers are good at that.
Facts.
So the only two teams that the Bucs have lost to are the Eagles, 31-25, and they lost to the Lions. Otherwise, they beat the Niners, they beat the Seahawks, they beat the Texans, they beat the Falcons. So,
yeah, I guess it's kind of like, what have they done lately that's impressive type thing. You know what I mean? They kind of the season's been
dude, even in that Saints game, Dave, their offense did not look good. Their offense has not looked good for a couple weeks. And against a Mike Vrabel defense, I don't know if you can figure it out that week. That's maybe not the week to do it. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of me too, is Baker's not cooking right now. He's not baking, I guess. I don't know, whatever you say. So I don't know if this is the team that they're going to figure it out against. They could, though. In this year's NFL, it can happen against anybody, but
it just this is a brutal stretch for the Bucs. This is where they can go, because they have Patriots, then they go to Buffalo, and then they go to the Rams.
Yeah.
3 straight weeks. We really get to find out what
this is the thing. The last time they played a good team, they got their butts kicked by the Lions 24-9. What I mean?
The Buccaneers lose all these games and the Panthers end up winning them and taking the division.
That
just
could
saying.
happen.
I mean, the Panthers might lose by 20 to the Saints this week, for all I know, dude, because this NFL's nuts. This NFL's absolutely nuts, man. Okay,
it'll be a fun game, by the way.
That's going to be a great game to watch. And it's an early game, so it's the early games of Jacksonville, Houston, that could be good, but that could be really ugly. Buffalo should just mollywop Miami. Cleveland and the Jets should just both forfeit this game. You got the Pats and the Bucs.
Everything for draft picks.
Could they transfer that game over to ESPN so people with YouTube TV don't have to pretend or complain about not being able to get it?
Yeah, just say all but Browns and Jets games are on ESPN from now on. That'd be great, so nobody can watch it. Yeah, thanks ESPN. Yeah, okay. Well, the beginning part, the early games, you got the Ravens, Vikings, you got the Bears, Giants, which actually could be a fun game. Pats, Bucks, I think, are probably the 3 best early games, but there might be some stinkers.
But would you be shocked if the Dolphins beat the Bills? Because I would not.
Yes. I will be very shocked if
the Dolphins are one of those teams that just ends up beating teams randomly, somehow.
But the Bills' defense the last 2 weeks looks like they figured it out. Because remember, their defense was really good last year. They're traditionally very good. So I think the Bills are starting to figure out their defense. And when you can run the football and you can play defense, you're going to beat the Miami.
Although are they going to have their starting running back? Last I heard was he was still questionable.
Yeah, he might not play.
Even so, they'll find a way.
But yeah, I mean, it'll be all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that first round of games is pretty good, but the second round of games, like we'll talk about the Packers and the Bears later, but the Packers or the Bears Giants game is going to be real interesting. And
James Cook is active for the Bills game according to
Oh, he is?
the news right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
from the
right now.
Friday's practice, yeah, because Friday's usually when they make those decisions.
Exactly. Yep, exactly today. So it looks like he's going to play. All right. So now that we've gone through our favorite games of the week, let's talk about our two teams. Let's do Packer Bear talk, everybody, and we'll go back into the trifecta so you can see our pretty ugly faces as we talk about our teams. So, okay, Monday Night Football is Packers Eagles. Sunday morning is Giants Bears. Dave, how do you feel about your Bears against these Giants? Now, the Giants look terrible. Obviously, they're 2-7 right now, but they've been in a lot of football games. Do they worry you at all at the moment?
Yeah, 2-7. They're 0-5 on the road. We're 5-3. We're 2-1 at home, but we still don't have a secondary. So that's where it can be. Darius Slayton is going to be interesting to see. Last week, Wan'Dale Robinson finally came back down to earth, but with Daniel Jones, or not Daniel Jones, sorry. With their quarterback, Jackson Dart, he keeps stuff interesting for them. He doesn't have the same run game. They kind of flip-flopped how we thought they'd divvy up their carries last week. But I think that's going to be this is going to be a fun. Bears play bad teams and they keep it entertaining because our defense is just hurt. Our defense isn't great. Caleb, he's hit or miss, he's scatter shot. So this could be, it could be another shootout. It could be another one where Caleb just drops a deuce because they have a pretty good defensive line. I like the Bears' chances. I think Rome getting goosed last week. He was excited though. His dad complained this week. They're like, "Oh, is he trying to pull a Marvin Harrison Sr.? Because Rome Sr., you are not Marvin Sr." But Rome was happy. He's like, "No, I don't care about that. I got my blocks." He had a lot of fantastic looks that he put on other people, and I think he's just going to blow up this week. I'm hoping. I don't really care about my fantasy team anymore. I'm looking for 2027. But yeah, I think I think the Bears are going to win this one. It's going to be highly entertaining. You got two very young, interesting quarterbacks. But yeah, I still like the Bears. This will be a fun game to
The Bears'
watch
offensive line is playing. Yeah, your offensive line's playing well.
Really well.
And it's a really good sign. Like, if I could swap the Packers' line for the Bears, I would do it in like 2 seconds right now at this point with how the Bears' offensive line has been playing. Like, they can actually push people around. They can actually block, which is good. That's a good skill to have.
All right tackle can do cartwheels in the middle of the field.
That also, the cartwheels. I want that.
I don't want that. I don't want any Bears players. How dare you, Doug? How dare you?
Yeah, when Colston Loveland got that game-winning touchdown.
This is how angry I'm at the Packers offensive line for playing like crap. Okay. But but the thing is that we're just talking like pure, like neutral, like if you just analyze the game, the offensive line play of the Bear gives them a much better chance to win and Caleb a chance to do well. If Caleb doesn't do well with that good blocking, then it's like, bro, what are you doing, bro? You know what I mean? Like, what else do you want?
But also over the last 4 weeks, we have the second best rushing attack in the league. So that's where even if Caleb doesn't do well, now that we've seen Monangai, can you really put him back in the box? Even if he's going to do 50-50 splits the rest of the way with Swift, I think it's just a whole nother angle. We have lots of dimensions. This is exactly what Ben Johnson wanted. Caleb, when they drafted our punter 2 off seasons ago, he called him up and said, "Hey, yeah, thanks. Welcome to the team. We're not going to use you too much." We had the lowest punch rate of any team in the league this year.
Yeah. So last year you were like the worst.
We were awful.
Yeah, weren't you like 30th or 31st?
We were punting for like 100 miles. We were punting across America. This year we're punting across, from La Crosse to Madison, and that's it.
No, I think a part of that, Dave, is the Ben Johnson offense. Like, you guys don't really have 3 and outs. That's a part of it. I think the other part of it is, though, you guys still have the most turnovers in the league by a wide margin. So you're starting in pretty decent field position a lot of times. So
that's true.
You're getting field goals or going for it instead of punting as well. You actually have a decent amount of 4th down turnovers, which is basically a punt. Do you know what I'm saying? But I get what you're saying, Dave. Like, Ben Johnson's offense has had an immediate effect on how good they are, and they're becoming a much more dangerous offense, which, for the Giants, I mean, I don't know what they are week to week. It's like they're in all these games, but they can't pull it out. I think Dable's going to get fired still, maybe during the season or at the end of the season. So fun fact for you guys. Brian Dable's first season in the Giants as the Giants head coach, he was 7-2 through week 9, his first season. The next 3 seasons, he's 2-7 every single year, 2-7.
That is
Yep.
messed up.
So like he doesn't he should not have a job next year. Like period. You can't start 2-7 3 years in a row. That's ridiculous. And this defense is not playing well, and they have good players on defense. They have an unbelievable defensive line that seems to be doing nothing. So yeah, I think the Bears actually win this one, Dave. But I think it's going to be a bit ugly. I think it's going to be a little bit ugly. Like any game in MetLife Stadium is pretty gross anyway. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Or is it in Chicago or is it in MetLife Stadium?
Chicago.
Dave? Oh, it's in. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's all the second ugliest stadium.
I was going to say it's still going to be ugly. We don't play too pretty at home.
Yeah. Well, your offense is looking decent, but I think I really need Jackson Dart to get 4 touchdowns this week for fantasy. So whatever, just 30 Bears 35, Giants 32. Let's go. So that's my prediction, 35-32. But yeah, no, you guys are still getting turnovers. Again, that seems to make the biggest difference in the games is the turnovers. So Doug, what do you feel about this game? Who do you think wins, the Bears or the Giants?
The thing is that the Bears offense is got enough playmakers where they just stick around in any game. And while the Bears defense like isn't very good overall, like yards wise, but they make the turnovers. And so like that's a recipe for nobody having any clue what's going to happen. Right. Yeah. Like you just like the Bears could get 3-4 turnovers and win, or they could not get any and lose. That's kind of like what it kind of feels like.
No, if the Bears don't have a plus turnover margin, they're going to lose. I think they'll lose to anybody. That if they turn it over once and the other team turns it over 0 times, well, maybe that's a bit of a stretch. But like the Bears have been +2 or better in every single one of their wins this year. Dave, did you know that? +2 or better in turnovers? Yeah, like. We've said that's not sustainable, but they keep doing it. So
they say that like turnovers really determine games more than any other stat, right? Like
it really does.
Number one stat.
It really does.
But the thing is, like, sorry, go ahead, Dave.
I was going to say that's one of the tip of the hat to Jackson Dart. He's a rookie and he has 10 tutties to only 3 interceptions. So he's not really turning the ball over that much, despite being a young guy.
But they haven't played the Bears yet. And there's turnover defense.
I mean, and he's doing this without Malik Neighbors and without Scadaboo, right? And like, I got to say, Jackson Dart, I thought he would not be good in the NFL. But then me and Dave joked, well, he went to Ole Miss. He's going to the Giants. He'll be fine. That turns out that's true. So if you're an Ole Miss quarterback, make sure the Giants draft you and nobody else. Do not let anybody else.
I thought it was a travesty he got drafted over like Shedeur Sanders. So that automatically means we know he's going to be good. Because like,
true.
You know,
it wasn't ESPN. It was just one really annoying guy who they just keep promoting year after year after year.
Yeah, the same guy. Yeah.
And Shedeur still hasn't started for the Browns. And that's telling you something that they're still playing Dylan Gabriel.
Like
who
a
has
little
not
midget.
looked good.
Yeah.
Who has not looked good? Not awful. It's the Browns, but like
he can't even see over the offensive line. So,
dude, I'm saying you, if Shedeur can't even take the job from Dylan Gabriel, like, yeah, maybe the NFL was right. So, anyway, all right. So let's take our turnover talk though into the Packers-Eagles game because I got a fun stat for you guys. The Eagles are actually number 1 in the NFL right now. They've only turned the ball over 3 times all year. Guess which team is tied for 2 with the least amount of turnovers?
The Packers.
The Packers. We don't give the ball away, and we don't take the ball away. So
Steven.
Yeah. So if we have a turnover, we're cooked. That's all I'm going to say. If the Packers turn the ball over 1 time against Philadelphia, they're cooked because Philadelphia does not turn the ball over. And Philadelphia is actually, if you guys actually look at Philadelphia's stats right now, they're not really good at anything. They're 10th in points per game, which is good. I'll give them that. That's decent, right? But in total yards, they're 24th. Yards per play, they're 17th. Passing yards, 25th. Rushing yards, 19th. Defensively, 19th in points allowed. 23rd in total yards. 17th in passing defense. 19th in rushing defense. 25th in sacks. And 19th in takeaways on defense. So they're not really good at anything except for not turning the ball over and, having a veteran team. They don't have a ton of penalties. So if the Packers were a team that caused turnovers, I'd be like, hey, we just need one big momentum play to shift this. The Eagles, are vulnerable, but we don't make turnovers either. So I think this is going to be another game where I'm mad at Matt LaFleur because the Eagles just drain the clock and do these slow, gross drives. And Jordan Love is barely on the field. And then we throw 3 screen passes. And then we have one special teams mistake. And then the Eagles go up and we can't get back. And then he finally releases Jordan Love to throw the ball down the field at the end of the third quarter. Jordan Love puts 2 touchdowns up near the end of the game, but it's not enough. It's just going to be the same old Matt LaFleur story. We're going to come out flat.
Except for one thing.
What's that?
This is now the Luke Musgrave Green Bay Packers.
Exactly.
Which means we're going to lose by 4 touchdowns.
But what I'm saying is that everything in the universe, every ounce and molecule and atom in the universe has said Luke Musgrave is never going to be a star. But what happens if he actually does play well?
I will eat my hat.
The thing is that he gets open, he's fast and he gets open, right?
He gets open.
He used to only just fall down and not know where he was and be like, oops, or drop the ball. And then he elevated to kind of falling forward. So if he could take a small step, I would be happy.
Luke Musgrave had a very good preseason. Luke Musgrave is not a terrible tight end. Luke Musgrave is less than half of what Tucker Kraft is. Even if Tucker Kraft was healthy in this game, I don't think the Packers, as they're playing now, would beat the Eagles because Matt LaFleur is on a stinker and he is getting outcoached in every single game. And until I see otherwise, I don't know how we're going to stop the Eagles from mandating how this game is played on every single snap.
But remember, the Eagles are also on a stinker where they're getting out coached. And just at the end, their talent pulls them over. That's why this is kind of this is this is a mirror game, except it's one of those funhouse mirrors where it just looks all warped and whatnot because they're both just jacked up. They're not living up nearly to what their potential is. And just remember, what was the fun stat I sent you earlier? Who has more receiving touchdowns this year?
Caleb Williams has more. Caleb Williams has more. He has as many receiving touchdowns as he does Heisman trophies and overrated player awards. But anyway,
has more touchdowns receiving than Matthew Golden.
But the number one thing that we are mad about the Packers this year is LaFleur kind of in his play calling at times and stuff, especially the Carolina game. But what if the Tucker Kraft injury shifts him into actually playing calls how we want him to
and getting creative again and going down the field.
Like when Malik Willis had to come in and play a quarterback, we'd win games and you're like, how is LaFleur even doing this? Right?
And doing actually under center play action instead of these RPO garbage things. Now, another worry I would say too, though, is the Eagles' strength is their D tackles and the Packers' problem has been their guards and their centers.
Yes.
So I am terrified that Jordan Love is going to get absolutely annihilated today or on Monday, because if those 2 defensive tackles take over the game, Jordan Love's not going to be able to do anything. So we might have to keep it back.
But they haven't been playing as well this year. The offense and defensive line for Philadelphia is not quite.
No, that's true. But Philadelphia's 2 best players are still their 2 defensive tackles, I'd say. And you could throw Zach Bond in there, but he hasn't been as good as last year. Right now, their 2 defensive tackles are their best players, and our biggest weakness on the offense is our center guard rotation right now. So that's not a good matchup for us.
Jordan Davis scares me, but what's his name? The other guy, Jalen Carter, doesn't so much. Jalen Carter
doesn't scare you at all?
He does, but he's continually gotten worse every game of his career. He's continually gotten slightly worse. If you look at his analytic grades, they're just going straight down from his.
It's because he's not spitting on enough guys. That's what it is.
But I think he's one of those. He's one of those egomaniac players that ends up having not a great career because their ego is just too big. They're just too talented and they just have a big ego.
There was an interesting thing that we had in high school, or my sophomore year. We had a guy who was a tackle and his big brother was on the team. So he was in the weight room, and so his big brother taught him the discipline and everything else. Once his big brother moved on, graduated and whatnot, then he no longer had that desire and he didn't work out nearly as hard. And he wasn't half the player that he was his senior year as he was a sophomore year. The reason why Jalen Carter was so dominant his first year is because he had Simon right there. He had the big brothers to say, all right, hey, little brother, come on. You're in here with us. Now there is nobody there to push him. There's nobody to say, hey, little man, because now he thinks he's the alpha. And I don't know that he has the work ethic. A lot of people, you need to have somebody there to push you. I don't know that he recognizes anyone else there. So
his
work ethic could be a part of it. But yeah, Doug said his analytics have proven that he's not the guy that he was 2 years ago.
So, well, this was the worry when he got drafted. Remember, his talent level was like a top 2 draft pick talent level.
Oh yeah,
and he dropped down to what was it, 9 or 10 to the Eagles, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's so good." And it's true, he helped win a Super Bowl. Don't get me wrong, but the major concern with him was his mentality. How dedicated is he to being the best he can be? Because his talent is like best defensive end in the league by a mile. But his work and his mentality are like, nah, I'll just get by, right? So, like, if he's doing that, great. Please do that against the Packers, please, because like I still think he's terrifying. So let me throw you guys some other stats out there about the Packers, because I have been talking crap about Matt LaFleur, and I think we can be so much better. So right now, Packers are 11th in points, almost identical to what the Eagles have scored, believe it or not, right, in total points, but they're better in yards per game, 8th, better in passing. They're also 8th, better in rushing. They're 19th. And time of possession, they're 18th, right about middle of the league, where the Eagles are actually 5th. So that's a big difference. The Eagles' time of possession. Yep. So points allowed a game, Packers are 8th, top 10, much better. Yards allowed 5th, much better. Passing yards allowed 9th, rushing yards allowed 5th. Sacks 14th, a little bit better, but about the same. And then interceptions, obviously one of the worst in the league because we don't turn the ball over. But the Packers in all these metrics and stats are so good, yet they just every game, they don't actually do the thing. You know, just do the thing, score the points, get the turnover, make the big play,
supposed to
do the thing. Like they just don't do the thing, but everything in between is great until the thing needs to happen. And so they skated by against the Cardinals, which doesn't look as bad now, because I'm telling you guys, the Cardinals coaches are doing a good job. Right.
Oh, yeah.
They almost skated by against the Browns and ended up losing that. They ended up losing to the Panthers. So they're going to play to whatever the competition comes. So this Packers Eagles game is going to be close. The Packers are not going to get blown out. Anybody that thinks that is a fool and hasn't watched the Singer Packle game. It's going to be a really close game. And the question is, does LaFleur screw it up? Does our special team screw it up? Does the turnover screw it up?
Special teams is going to be special.
What are the Packers going to do to screw it up? Because I will give the Eagles this as a credit. The Eagles are not that great right now, but they don't shoot themselves in the foot, and that's why they keep winning.
Their special teams has made a lot of plays so far this season for the Eagles.
They have. Yep.
And
they won them 2 games. It won them 2 games already. So, that's the opposite of the Packers.
Yeah, so that could be the deal breaker.
Yep.
I just want to circle back to Luke Musgrave. His profile, he was an athlete. Tucker Kraft is a man of a man, whatever. He'll run you over. But Luke Musgrave was an athlete where he can run down the seam, and he can be a field stretcher. So for him, I think he'd be more of a compliment to Dobbs, because he can be the one who pulls the safety off the top and whatnot. They have to stay with him, and then he can run the underneath routes, which is what your other wide receivers are. They're none of them outside of your speedy, I can't stay healthy more than 4 games a year.
Yep.
You don't really have those deep threats. So I think he can help to open stuff up for your other wide receivers. So even if Musgrave isn't going to get 100 yards, I still think he can be a compliment to the other players and help to open stuff up.
And the best way to attack the Eagles is at their safeties, especially if they're playing a cover shell, because they've had that problem all year when the cornerbacks turn it over, right? And they've also had quarterback issues. Hey, Jair, welcome back to Green Bay. Please allow 2 touchdowns like you do when you play for us. Okay. Like,
hyper target Jair.
I still love Jair. I love his attitude. He has some of the best interviews I've ever seen. And I got the ball. Ooh, and I was like this. Like, I love Jair.
We all love Jair.
I think we all understand why they didn't pay him money. And he just got traded away from Baltimore after they signed him, and it seemed like a big trade to Philadelphia. That's how desperate Philadelphia is in the secondary, is all I'm saying. And that's not me talking crap about Jair. I'm just saying he ain't what he was. So they're desperate out there, and there's a way you can beat Philadelphia. The problem is our offensive line has to give Jordan Love time, and Matt LaFleur has to play with the ball sack. And I don't know if either of those 2 things are going to happen.
The thing is that, like, Jordan Love can overcome that by playing near perfect, and sometimes he does, right?
Sometimes he does.
There's actually moments this year that he, like, Luke Musgrave got wide open and he just overthrew him, right? So, like, we've seen flashes of it. Part of it, though, is Jordan Love takes a little bit of time to get on the page with people sometimes, right? Like, to get the timing of them down. So even though losing Tucker Kraft is absolutely like the worst thing ever that they could have got lost in a player almost, other than Jordan Love and Micah Parsons, is that he can get on the page with Musgrave maybe. And like, they just got to like get them in rhythm, and maybe not to say that Musgrave's going to be featured or be an all pro tight end, but just good enough to make like a few plays in the game when they need him to.
So I will say this too. Jordan Love starts seasons slow. He starts games slow, but he has been unbelievably good in the fourth quarter. And it's almost Toyotathon, guys. Not this week. But next week is Toyotathon, and we all know Jordan Love starts to cook when Toyotathon starts mid-November. So, yeah, Jordan Love isn't even at his peak of his powers
He's
yet
not
right
at peak
now
Toyotathon
because
time,
it's not Toyotathon time. But he's been really, really good in fourth quarters of games. So that, to me, I can live with all the mistakes and issues that he's made. Guys, it's still only his third year, and he missed some games last year. So, like, I am good with him figuring stuff out and taking his time, because when it comes down to crunch time, he has been phenomenal. He has actually really been phenomenal. And yes, I know he threw that one pass on fourth down that looked like a lame duck to the end zone, but he also bought 7 seconds and was trying to make a play, and he was
that one I wasn't so mad at because he
and it was a windy day, so like the ball kind of held up.
The quarterback, the Dobbs was looking right at him, and he threw it so Dobbs could, because the cornerback was looking away. Dobbs was looking at him, and he threw it so Dobbs could run back to the ball. And he didn't, and the cornerback turned around and was like, "Oh, it's right here." And Dobbs,
when I watched it again, I could see, because when Jordan Love threw it, we're all like, "What the hell?" But when you watch it and replay, and he points, he's like, "I'm throwing it there," and he's looking at Dobbs, and he throws it there.
There was the wind that probably pushed.
And the wind held it up, but it basically went where he wanted it to go.
Yeah.
Dobbs was just watching it though, because I think Dobbs didn't realize it was for him. But whatever. Either way, all I'm saying,
the other bad pass was the wind too that he threw. That was just a stupid pass deep.
It was also into triple coverage. It was. I'm not going to forgive him for the wind causing that interception, because it was triple coverage.
He's mostly locked in.
Yeah. No, dude, I've said this. I will take Jordan Love having a little bit of Favre in him, because I'll take the good plays with the bad. Like Jordan Love's, dude, those plays he makes 30 yards down the field where he just whips it and it goes right in our guy's breadbasket in between two goes. I'll take those, because you're going to get interceptions with that too. I will take it. Give me the excitement. Give me the big play. I'd rather have a little more Favre.
So you got to stretch that field sometimes.
You got to, man. No, I like that he's got a little bit of Favre in him. You know what? It's going to cost us a game here or there, but he's going to win us a lot more with that aggressive attitude.
Well, you remember 2010, the Packers won the Super Bowl, and that year, the focal point of the offense was Jermichael Finley. He was the number one receiver on that team as far as the focal point, and he got hurt right about the same time. And now they did have 5 other wide receivers or 4 other receivers that were really good, but a lot of them were young and a lot of them were old. Like Donald Driver was old. The other guys were kind of young. Greg Jennings was kind of like the only like real legit receiver at the time. Jordy Nelson,
third year.
If you remember, Jordy Nelson even dropped a bunch of passes in the Super Bowl too, even though he had like 140 yards, right? So like, and that was kind of the game though that got him like legitimized as like a legit starter. And then the next year they just tore it up like crazy. But people don't remember. People forget during that Super Bowl run, it was all Rodgers. So like he was basically like, I'm now just going to play perfect, and it doesn't matter who's on the field. I don't care.
And the defense was unbelievable in the playoffs.
Yeah, they did.
The defense was unbelievable in the playoffs.
But Rodgers also scored a lot of points.
He did. Like
40 some.
We were up like 24-0 on Atlanta before like Atlanta even knew what they were doing, right? And so, but in the Super Bowl, the defense had that pick six. They had that turnover. They got to Ben Roethlisberger. So like the defense was excellent. And dude, our defense is really good. I like the Packers defense a lot this year, even though we have some areas of concern. I mean, there's still a top 10 defense.
I think the defense this year is better overall because we can actually stop the run and we can actually pass rush. But like that team couldn't pass rush other than Clay Matthews a little bit. And the defensive backs were just all amazing. The defensive backs were like all pros all over the place, right?
The defense is so much better than last year. But the biggest difference is we've caused 3 turnovers all year this year. Mm-hmm. By this time last year, we had 13 turnovers. We were second in the NFL. Because remember, X himself had like 7 in a row.
Well, people just stopped throwing at him. We're not going to throw at that guy.
And I think that stuff kind of evens out. So here's hoping in the second half of the season, the Bears only get 3 turnovers and the Packers get 17.
The Packers
right?
Get 3.
That's what I'm hoping for. Just reverse roles. Give us 17. You guys get 3. And then we'll be fine.
Fair.
Yeah. And on that note, turn over in your beds and go to sleep. Good night, everybody.